There have been a number of turning points in the history of mankind. We are now going through one of them. Some people call it globalization, or the information age. Although such analyses are correct, there is another development far more important than these. Although some people may still be unaware of it, there has been a huge change in the field of science and philosophy in the last 20 to 25 years. Atheism, that has so influenced the world of science and thought, is now undergoing an irrevocable collapse. Atheism, in other words the denial of God, has existed since the very earliest times. Yet the real rise of this idea began with a number of 18th century thinkers who were opposed to religion. Materialists such as Denis Diderot, Baron de Holbach, and David Hume claimed that there was no world of existence outside that of matter. Atheism spread still further in the 19th century. Thinkers such as Feuerbach, Marx, Engels, Nietzsche, Durkheim, and Freud applied atheistic ideas to a number of different scientific and philosophical fields. The greatest support for atheism came from Charles Darwin, who denied creation and replaced it with the theory of evolution. Darwinism offered a so-called scientific answer to the question, how did living things and man come into existence? Something atheists had been unable to do for centuries. He claimed that there was a mechanism in nature that gave life to inanimate matter and then produced all the millions of different living species. A great many people came to believe that deception. By the end of the 19th century, atheists had established a worldview that they believed accounted for everything. They denied that the universe had been created, saying that it had existed forever and had no beginning. They suggested that the order and equilibrium in the universe were the result of chance, and that there was no purpose in it. They imagined that Darwinism accounted for the emergence of man and all living things. Yet every one of these views collapsed with scientific, political, and sociological advances in the 20th century. Discoveries in a great number of fields, from astronomy to biology, from psychology to social ethics, fundamentally overturn the most basic assumptions of atheism. In his book, God, the Evidence, The Reconciliation of Faith and Reason in a Post-Secular World, published in 1997, the well-known American writer Patrick Glynn offered the following analysis. The past 2 decades of research have overturned nearly all the important assumptions and predictions of an earlier generation of modern secular and atheist thinkers relating to the issue of God. Over the course of a century and the great debate between science and faith, the tables have completely turned. Today, the concrete data points strongly in the direction of the God hypothesis. The first blow dealt to atheism by 20th century science came in the field of cosmology. Belief in a universe that had existed forever collapsed, and evidence emerged that the universe did indeed have a beginning. In other words, that it had been created. The idea of an infinite universe was first put forward by atheist philosophers in ancient Greece. The first person to support the idea in the New Age was the famous 18th century philosopher Immanuel Kant. Kant claimed that the universe had existed forever, and that all possibilities could actually happen within that infinite expanse of time. In the 19th century, the view that the universe had no beginning, that there was no moment of creation, came to be widely accepted. Science would shortly prove, however, that the universe did indeed have a beginning. That proof came from the Big Bang theory. The theory of the Big Bang was the result of a string of discoveries. In 1929, the American astronomer Edwin Hubble realized that the galaxies in the universe were constantly moving away from one another, which meant that the universe was expanding. If the flow of time in an expanding universe were reversed, then it emerged that the whole universe must have come from a single point. Astronomers found themselves facing a metaphysical situation in which this single point possessed infinite gravity, yet zero volume. Matter and time emerged with the explosion of that infinitely small point. To put it another way, the universe was created from nothing. Although the Big Bang theory disturbed materialists, it continued to be supported by concrete scientific discoveries. During their observations in the 1960s, the two scientists, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, identified the radioactive traces left behind by that explosion. The same thing was confirmed in the 1990s with the levels of radiation captured by the satellite Cosmic Background Explorer, COBE.